Hello, dear Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN. You guys have recorded preventing mandated law with the agencies and with the judges. Regardless of your opinions, you guys are putting your opinions on people's you guys are using your Facebook roles with using your Facebook page for that, and then pretending you can make treatments of Facebook. So that is how one of the ways you guys are measured and maintained by our own measuring and maintained, not discerned, where they were hyper-recorded / recorded and recorded pretending other into databases as roles with their motivations, part of their motivations, for example, against the American citizens with courts, locations, areas, and states, Weathersfield, interbranch, intercities through time, involved with sickly, distinctly, with identity thefts, frauds, instances against everyone, individually grouped and together. See, where they have differences employed by nature, that was self-valued, being and having been employed by people that need to hide from and hurt correlation nature, because there are a certain kind of victim predator that is relevant to where and how our sciences have remained abridged as ground conjunctions to the Constitution, abridged its values, its value system, and how that was pretended not realized and pretended only because of people's opinions. When the Constitution unabridged demonstrates, and if it has free speech, that they were making the wrong outcomes in cases with Jim Crow laws, for example, and with the counters to it, recorded, effectively maintained arrays of opinions and of differences, employed to effectively to screen and to also the motivations other than the ones controlling them. See, what was sustained besides hurt to all locations, areas, and states since before America? Sustained against Native Americans sickly, distinctly. Sustained against colonists. Sustained against Native American tribes sickly, distinctly. Sustained against American colonies sickly, distinctly. To keep how sickly, non-distinctly, not only not discerned, self-valued, not discerned by styles of logic, that increasingly needed to hide from and hurt all the answers that nature's identity demonstrates. There was a breaching method associated with the syntax nature of everybody, with the premises treatments of everyone, with the qualities of fact treatment nature, for example, as criminal insidiousness natures of positive and negative treatments, of names treatments, of identity treatments, ground locations involved with our communications. No, since founding that has been left out when it overtly / insidiously simultaneously / hyper simultaneously has been relevant, has been discernible at all locations. One can just use a picture of New York City to discern that and how science, this is criminally foreign influence science, is juxtaposed delusions wrought and pretending other simultaneously for a breaching screen, how that was involved with that. And so we can't leave out how other countries are in the same exact trap, because they're also shared here and there when they're not supposed to talk about it. That's demonstrated. And now see, they're pretending they have the integrity to be sides, but since they were in grammar school, they were criminally foreign influenced. And there were hundreds of nations that share uses of locations like shopping plazas, shopping malls, campuses, and locations next to campuses, where they had all the identities of the sciences individually grouped and together, needing to hurt as victims that they knew would have to react to syntax nature per those positions. Incapable of doing it without blaming the real cause of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures right to those spots. Timed right to the spots where they live, right to the conversations of their neighbors. This is a method that uses the, quote, sense and sensibilities, unquote, of people. Blaming other things, others, and ourselves, with the breaching method caused. With the breaching method causes. Only the extent of that is debatable. See, but originally still we had people debating the extent of things with physical delusions, with uses of criminally foreign influence premises treatments. So the revelations by the short words, by our correlation nature, actually inherent, active, and progressive means they were not realized. So when a little kid Every little kid wants naturally to explain what they can explain simple at that level. But the adults, in collusion with the kids, because some of those adults are reliant upon pretending to be experts, private and interbranch tied to them. All exceptions in exception nature tied to interbranch. Even down to fire departments, even down to the prisons, even down to the people that work with those locations and their neighbors. See, they were, before anyone was, while everyone was become sophistication, the answers that correlation nature could provide itself were replaced and are measured and maintained, either self-valued, replaced, or that person is hurt. And simultaneously they are pseudo-cared for. And this method knew that. This is exploiting them as criminal insidiousness. This is exploiting humanity as an identity of volume, the way we actually function. Its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that which can't be invented. We can go by other systems, but not nature will demonstrate negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. See, but this had to make positive value nature progressions to replace the negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures that nature was demonstrating. And consciously, it knew that those forms of sophistication, even our founding parents didn't have, where they were sophistication greater than that. They didn't have free speech. So they got locked into the words they had to entertain as qualities of fact, human nature couldn't entertain themselves and afford discern the surface values of the Constitution properly. They wanted us to demonstrate this for them. They left us the means to correlate this. There's a where and how other was forced left simultaneously. That is why the simultaneous is so valuable. It comes with hyper simultaneous. No, one could lie about what is simultaneously, but they can't lie about or miss all that's connected to what is hyper simultaneous, because nature is what is hyper simultaneous, and science reveals this if we follow it with and as a quality of fact, human nature, that is not holding on to the sciences being and having been abridged, individually grouped and together, and not hanging on to the premises and convictions of them, again, juxtaposed with physical delusions. Every time they use word black or white, anytime they try to make exceptions, they demonstrate what nature, in other words, what is actually recorded, that is relevant also to where and how they prevent offensively people from reporting things to the police by using people that are constantly reporting things to the police, who are criminally foreign influenced as victim predators, though. See, we had victims that who was involved with witch trials? Victim predators. To an extent, we know they made that up. To an extent /s, we know they made that up. The other is the narratives by those in charge of it, of correlation nature at each stage, each age of fact treatment nature. This is inter-campuses, public, private, and homeschool connected. It is recorded consciously, having kept individually grouped together. So we have to use other people's names. They use our names from backgrounds. They switch names and forge names into branch. They have people go before courts each day where they prevent writing. All exceptions in exception nature and demonstration of the same thing they were seeking and shifting. They've been involved with locations, with offensive evidence perception, with the crimes going down. Not the way they are legally allowed to be involved with crimes, the interbranch. But more and more, that is how they read the statutes, criminally foreign influence, and with delusions, and with sequences, and with personal criminal motivations. Because also the motivations themselves were that which were the agenda, those which were the goal of the hyper-archetypal breaching method. That was too the recorded self-confessed and confirmed and actually recorded modern nations A through Z as criminal enterprises. Inside a hyper-criminal enterprise, they have self-valued roles with since semi-ancient times. The religions have self-valued roles with preventing the quality of fact-cheaping nature to demonstrate why and how. The religious books and their actual leaderships wanted us to demonstrate how they're about how, for example, the ancients had revealed by nature itself how and why the 26 letters of the English alphabet have a better than living relationship to themselves, and how and why the 26 letters of the Arabic alphabet have a better than living relationship to themselves that are connected. Same way we have physical differences connected, so we can discern the invisible, but still discernible. See, but now it's juxtaposed different. It's worse than obfuscated by that method that knew we would have. They would what they were involved with as, quote, sophistication, unquote, and as their maintenance of non-sophistication so they can pretend their sophistication is worth it. All that too, and those motivations, those were propagated. This was sophistication. By what was sophistication in America before our founding parents were even born? Boxing, forewarned. So the agencies, the CIA and FBI and co-defendants, federal criminals and overt criminal enterprises are involved with the co-defendants and the family members and neighbors of co-defendants of Robert Luskin, former director of the FBI, in a 2006 district court case and leading up to that and since. In other cases, they had roles, and on campuses, they have roles with Predicate Acts together with. They have wire crimes with NBC Connecticut, roles with NBC Connecticut News, and with WFSB, and with Fox Connecticut News, and with two Mendez police, a Domains family, and Allison Mulcahy and others, neighbors of hers, and people all along Hangdog Lane. And where Two Rod Highway runs into Hangdog Lane. All around Two Rod Highway and Hangdog Lane involved with sequence shifts with courts, other natures of federal crimes with courts, identity thefts, fraud, slanders, through time connected, as roles with falsified police reports connected to those wire crimes. Now, these are people in backgrounds making up more and more lies about people because, I saw Anthony Wall speaking about you guys, the police, on television. Get down! Make sure you get the Wethersfield Police to one name. They've been switching names and forging names and sequences. Now, they confess they've been doing this with Cololos. And a Bob Chase said that there's a Phil Cololo involved with this. Now, but the other guy only said Cololo was involved with them with the names Sullivan. They have an officer, a male officer, using the name Sullivan of a female officer. They also have Sullivan and some guy named Brian, I forgot his name. With people with it's something to do with Goodwin Park in Hartford, Connecticut, and the three of the spots, that cemetery stone place right there next to it, and the place next to it, have people I don't know at all, people I barely had words with, where they recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, have roles with the courts and police forms that make and their family members that made confessions to me out courts, as their roles with the court, as their roles with predicate acts those courts have with switching names, forging names, lying to other judges with those judges, but then they defend their identities anyway. When did the courts have integrity? When did the police forms have integrity? Never in relationship to a lot of things. Boxing. So we're going to examine how they've been using opinions with subjects treatments that are leaving out exceptions and exception nature consciously, criminally foreign influenced, and delusions wrought. We're going to examine how that was self-valued because they were blaming how they were sickly and are sickly victims. See, they want to say, we're predators, we have money, we're the wealth class. In other words, that's part of their logic. They need to, in other words, that's a narrative for what? In other words, that's a narrative get away from the sequence shifts. I didn't ask their opinions. Their opinions are recorded when you see what's actually recorded, being and having been employed to screen. Their motivations, even though real, they're also made up and apparently real because they're not real, because they're worse. They've been used remotely in these locations. So they have roles with a Rod Rodriguez and with a whole bunch of families that answered phones for Wethersfield Police Department through time and connected to the ones that answer phones for the police department through time. Their family members are involved with federal crimes, with houses, with uses of my name behind my back. Relevant to the, not relevant to feelings and all that. You guys are pretending things. You have pretending passions, emotions, where you're forging names, switching names, preventing people peaceful means and or any other means verbally to counter their roles with guns crimes, bug spray, other crimes, medicines, drugs crimes, slanders. You have doctors that pretend they had conversation with me, pretend they were doctors of me with the various news that were all these fake articles, fake words, fake ties to me, fake lies about the actual outcomes in cases with those federal criminals and their kids involved. Since before that was proven. And then, after that was proven, then they were defendants of former director of the FBI in a case /S that was ongoing at the time of my father's death, which is inseparable. They brought that up. I didn't bring that up. And they attached me to fake conversations with them about that. And then they tried to make exceptions out of it. 3 times they did this at Hartford Hospital. They 3 times they lied and hid lies and hid what I caught them doing with child abusers on the record, and more than and now involved. Also on and off the campuses, connected intercities. This is what happens when you have people with the former director of the FBI, with federal criminals, with the kids in Wethersfield, spreading lies with the Wethersfield Police Chief Cintron. He has a Jessica Cintron. I never met her in my life, never saw her around anywhere. John Maiano and others recorded, confessed, and demonstrated confirmed roles with the wire crimes and sequence shifts on my street. He never had a conversation with my mother in my life, John Maiano too. And she, he's involved with some bad things with the area and with the names involved, with the identity thefts and frauds that pretended to know me, like a Tom Perone and a Danielle Perone, involved with them through time, and with all these names. They brought them. Then they made people speak. They sound. How do you sound using people's names? Then they're lying in the background. See, that's the problem we have. We have journalists that have been using they have a right to lie journalist. They're using it as a right to lie. It's supposed to be they're supposed to have credibility. They're pretending they have credibility outside of courts because the courts have been coaching them, because they have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes, uses of their locations that require falsified police reports and require their roles with lies and illusions, bad things, and criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatment uses at roles at all locations. They have roles with uses of killers in the body dumping spots and the people next to it, because the investigators themselves have been used remotely since founding. See, UPS sought me out, recorded themselves, probably pretending other in background too, sought me out to confess, record, demonstrate, confirm with their family members. They're involved with the intercampuses. Some people say, I found out the names, I didn't know the names then. Former director of the FBI and some courts judges and prosecutors and people involved with his deposition and people involved with plaintiffs against him and with the defendants against him and the friends of both sides. Recorded attached to identity theft, false, fake words, and collusion with the news media that's been doing that with retired and standing interbranch. So follow mandated law for them. And then they just retired and run, hide them. There's a all along Route 3 is something to do with it. There's a Zano family. He said Puzo or something like that. He has a cousin's named Puzo on Route 3 too. And there's businesses on Route 3 associated with a dry cleaner place and the places next to it, like with Brian Bonin and others recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. As strangers, they made these confessions, and I don't barely know them. And then through time, they've been involved with falsified police reports, drugs and medicines crimes, with a Dillon, people associated with a Kevin Dillon and his family. And those are also people further on and off my street involved with predicate acts. So get these people to one name in sequence and on paper now. Get them on paper now. Make sure they say sorry to the judges too, and the ones that lied to the judges with the judges. And you have to get the sick natures that have so many physical delusions into branch retrained. I'll do it for you. Get them to follow mandated law first. Say sorry to the judges of Fox News and or with them.